The envelope slid across my desk like a death sentence. Heavy cream paper, official seals, my name typed in cold black letters. I stared at it for what felt like hours before my trembling fingers finally tore it open. Divorce papers. My wife of 12 years had just served me divorce papers at my office. No conversation, no warning. Just Sarah walking in with that lawyer's smile and sliding destruction across my mahogany desk like she was delivering lunch. The words blurred together: irreconcilable differences, division of assets, custody arrangements for our 8-year-old daughter Emma. My hands shook as I read each clinical phrase that reduced our life together to bullet points on legal documents. But Sarah had no idea what I discovered 3 weeks earlier. She had no idea about the folder hidden in my office safe, the one filled with screenshots and bank statements and text message logs that painted a very different picture of our marriage than the one she'd been showing me. She had no idea that while she'd been planning her exit strategy, I'd been building my case. Let me take you back to how this all started. How a routine check of our joint credit card statement turned into the discovery that would change everything. It was a Tuesday morning in March when I noticed the charges. Small amounts at first, $50 here, $80 there, restaurants I'd never been to, a hotel charge on a day I was traveling for work. When I asked Sarah about them, she had explanations for everything. Business lunches, sister visiting from out of town, emergency car repairs. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? This was my wife. The woman who made pancakes shaped like hearts for Emma every Sunday morning. The woman who still left little notes in my briefcase when I traveled. But the charges kept coming, and the explanations started getting thinner. The breaking point came when I saw a charge for $2,000 at a jewelry store. Victoria's Secrets and expensive dinners were one thing, but $2,000 at Cartier was something else entirely. When I confronted Sarah about it, she said it was a surprise for our anniversary. Our anniversary was 8 months away. That night, while Sarah slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and felt something cold settle in my chest. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal quietly. It fractures with tiny cracks that spread until the whole foundation crumbles. I started paying attention to things I'd been overlooking. The way Sarah's phone always faced down on the table, how she'd started working late 3 nights a week. The new clothes that appeared in her closet, tags cut off, credit card receipts nowhere to be found. The morning everything changed started like any other. Sarah kissed me goodbye at the kitchen counter, her lips tasting like vanilla lip gloss and lies. Emma was at the breakfast table, chocolate chip pancake crumbs scattered around her plate like evidence of childhood innocence. I loved my daughter more than breathing. Emma had Sarah's eyes but my stubborn chin, and she could make me laugh even on my worst days. The thought of losing her in a divorce made my chest tight with panic. After Sarah left for work, I did something I'd never done before. I went through her purse. My hands moved through the contents like a detective at a crime scene. Receipts, lip balm, car keys, and then something that made my blood freeze. A hotel room key card. The Marriott downtown. Room 1247. The same hotel where she'd charged that mysterious night 3 months ago. I drove to the Marriott like a man possessed. The lobby was all marble and soft lighting, the kind of place you take someone when you want to impress them, or when you want to hide. The desk clerk was young, probably fresh out of college, with the eager-to-please smile of someone who hadn't been broken by customer service yet. I told him I was supposed to meet someone in room 1247 but couldn't reach them on their phone. He checked his computer with the casual efficiency of routine. "I'm sorry, sir, but that room is registered to a Mr. David Chen. Would you like me to call up for you?" David Chen, Sarah's co-worker. The same David I'd met at office Christmas parties, who'd shaken my hand and complimented my wife's presentation skills while apparently planning to sleep with her. I thanked the clerk and walked back to my car on unsteady legs. Everything made sense now. The late nights, the credit card charges, the distance that had grown between us like a slow poison. My wife was having an affair. That revelation should have destroyed me, should have sent me spiraling into rage or despair. Instead, something else happened. Something colder and more calculating took over. If Sarah wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules. I spent the next 2 weeks becoming a private investigator of my own life. I installed tracking software on our shared computer. I started taking pictures of receipts before she could hide them. I documented every late night, every suspicious charge, every time she said she was one place while her phone's location showed she was somewhere else. The evidence piled up like kindling for a fire I wasn't ready to light yet. The breakthrough came when I found the burner phone. Sarah thought she was clever, hiding it in her gym bag underneath spare workout clothes. How long had she been planning this? How many lies had she practiced in the mirror before serving them to me with my morning coffee? The phone was full of text messages that made my stomach turn. Not just the sexual ones, though those were bad enough. Worse were the messages about me, about our marriage. About how she was just waiting for the right time to escape, and how she deserved better than being stuck with someone like me. One message stood out like a neon sign in the darkness. Sarah had written to David about her exit strategy. She was planning to file for divorce and go after half of everything I'd built. My business, my savings, our house. She even joked about taking me for alimony since I made more money. But the message that made my hands shake with rage was about Emma. Sarah wrote about using our daughter as leverage, about making sure I only got minimal custody so she could maximize child support payments. My daughter wasn't a person to her anymore. She was a paycheck. That's when I stopped feeling sad and started feeling dangerous. I screenshot every message, every photo, every financial record. I printed bank statements going back 3 years and highlighted every suspicious charge. I created a timeline of Sarah's affair that read like a prosecution brief. And then I made some phone calls. My lawyer was a sharp woman named Janet Morrison who'd helped my business navigate some tricky contracts over the years. When I called her and explained the situation, her voice took on the predatory tone of someone who'd found blood in the water. "Bring me everything," she said. And I mean everything. Janet's office was all glass and steel, like a weapon designed to intimidate. She spread my evidence across her conference table like pieces of a puzzle, and when she finished arranging them, the picture was devastating. "This is good," she said, but her smile was cold as winter. "This is very good. She's documented her own fraud. These charges on joint accounts for an affair constitute theft. And these text messages about hiding assets and manipulating custody? That's going to backfire spectacularly." She explained my options with the clinical precision of a surgeon planning an operation. Divorce proceedings where I'd have the upper hand, potential criminal charges for theft. And then she mentioned something that made me sit up straighter. "There's also the defamation angle," Janet said, sliding a legal pad toward me. "These messages where she's discussing your personal business with her affair partner, sharing private information about your finances, and making untrue statements about your character to justify her actions. That's textbook defamation. We could file a separate suit." The idea hit me like lightning. While Sarah was busy planning to take me for everything I was worth, I could file a defamation lawsuit that would expose her affair and her lies to everyone who mattered. "How much damage could we do?" I asked. Janet's smile could have cut glass, enough to make her very, very sorry. I went home that night and cooked dinner like nothing had changed. Sarah sat across from me at the kitchen table, talking about her day at work while I nodded and made appropriate responses. Emma chattered about her upcoming school play, her excitement infectious even as my world crumbled around the edges. Watching Sarah lie to my face took on a surreal quality. Every smile felt like a performance. Every casual touch felt like manipulation. I was living with a stranger wearing my wife's face. That night, as Sarah slept beside me, I lay awake, planning her destruction. The defamation lawsuit was a masterpiece of legal strategy. Janet filed it quietly, naming both Sarah and David as defendants. The suit alleged that Sarah had shared private, confidential information about our marriage and my business with her affair partner, damaging my reputation and causing emotional distress. More importantly, filing the suit would require Sarah and David to respond under oath. Any lies they told would constitute perjury. Any truths they told would expose the full extent of their affair. It was a trap with no escape route. The suit also included a request for an emergency order to freeze certain joint assets, preventing Sarah from hiding money or making large withdrawals before our divorce proceedings began. Janet assured me it would be granted quickly, given the evidence of financial infidelity. "When this hits," she told me, "it's going to hit hard and fast. Are you ready?" I thought about Emma's laugh, about the house I'd worked 16-hour days to buy, about the trust Sarah had shattered with her lies and games. I'm ready. The lawsuit was filed on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, Sarah's law firm would be scrambling to respond. By Friday, word would start spreading through Sarah's office about why she was being sued by her own husband. But Sarah didn't know any of this when she walked into my office that Tuesday with those divorce papers. She thought she was ambushing me. She thought she held all the cards. The look on her face when she slid that envelope across my desk was pure satisfaction. She'd been planning this moment for months, savoring the idea of catching me off guard, of being the one in control for once. I think it's best if we handle this quickly and quietly, she said, her voice steady and rehearsed, for Emma's sake. The irony was almost funny. For Emma's sake. As if anything she'd done over the past year had been for our daughter's benefit. I opened the envelope slowly, reading through the papers with the careful attention of someone seeing them for the first time. Sarah watched my face, waiting for the shock and hurt she expected to see. Instead, I looked up at her calmly. Is this really what you want? It's what's best for everyone, she replied, but I caught the slight tremor in her voice. Maybe some part of her still felt guilty about what she was doing. Okay, I said simply. I'll have my lawyer review these and get back to you. The confusion on Sarah's face was almost satisfying. She'd expected tears, arguments, desperate pleas for another chance. Instead, I was responding like this was a business transaction. Which, in a way, it was. After Sarah left, I called Janet immediately. She just served me, I told her. Perfect timing, Janet replied. Our lawsuit drops tomorrow morning. She's going to wish she'd never played this game. That evening at dinner was surreal. Emma told us about her spelling test while Sarah and I made polite conversation about work and weekend plans. We were 3 people sitting around a table, but only one of us had any idea what was really happening. After Emma went to bed, Sarah approached me in the living room. She sat on the edge of the coffee table, facing me with the serious expression she used for important conversations. I know this is hard, she said, but I think we can keep things civil, for Emma. The word civil almost made me laugh. There was nothing civil about planning to destroy someone's life while lying to their face every day. Nothing civil about using your daughter as a pawn in financial games. I want what's best for Emma too, I said, and meant it. That's all I've ever wanted. Sarah nodded, probably thinking she was making progress. Good. I'm glad we can agree on that. Friday morning came like Judgment Day. I was in my office early, pretending to work while waiting for Janet's call. At 9:37 a.m., my phone rang. It's done, Janet said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. Papers served to both defendants. The emergency asset freeze was approved, and the local legal community is already buzzing. Phase 1 complete. I spent the rest of Friday in meetings, trying to focus on work while imagining the chaos erupting in Sarah's world. Her phone started ringing around 11 a.m. Text messages followed. By lunch, she'd called me 3 times. I let them all go to voicemail. The first message was confusion. Call me back. Something's happening with lawyers, and I don't understand. The second was anger. What did you do? How could you file a lawsuit without talking to me first? The third was panic. We need to talk. Now. This is affecting my job. I deleted each message without listening to it completely. At 6 p.m., Sarah was waiting in my office parking garage. She looked like someone who'd been hit by a truck. Her professional composure was gone, replaced by raw desperation. What is this? She demanded, waving papers at me. What is this lawsuit? I looked at her calmly, the same way I'd look at any opposing party in a business negotiation. It's exactly what it says it is. A defamation suit for sharing confidential information about our marriage and my business with unauthorized parties. Sarah's face went white. You know. I know everything. The words hung between us like a blade. Every hotel visit, every lie about working late. Every text message where you called me names and planned to take me for everything I'm worth. She stepped backward like I'd slapped her. You went through my phone. I protected my family from a threat. My voice was steady, but inside I felt like ice, which is what I should have done the moment I realized you'd become one. Sarah tried to recover, shifting into damage control mode. We can work this out. We don't need lawyers involved. We can handle this between ourselves. No, The word came out harder than I'd intended. You made your choice when you decided to lie to me for 8 months while planning to destroy my life. Now you get to live with the consequences. This will hurt Emma, she said, playing her last card. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with your coworker and planning to use her as leverage for child support. Sarah's composure finally cracked completely. Tears started flowing, but they felt calculated, performed, like everything else about her had become. Please, she whispered, I made mistakes, but this lawsuit will ruin me. I thought about all the nights I'd lain awake wondering if I was losing my mind, all the times I'd questioned my own perceptions because my wife assured me I was wrong. All the mornings I'd kissed her goodbye while she was planning my destruction. That's the point, I said, and walked away. The weekend passed in a blur of legal preparations and damage assessment. Janet called Saturday morning with updates that sounded like victory reports from a war I was winning. Sarah's employer is conducting an internal investigation, she reported. Using company resources to conduct a personal affair violates their ethics policy. David's already been suspended pending the outcome. Sunday brought more good news. The asset freeze is holding. Sarah tried to access 3 different accounts yesterday and got blocked every time. Her lawyer's filing emergency motions, but they won't get heard until Tuesday. By Monday morning, the story was spreading through Sarah's professional network like wildfire. A respected marketing executive being sued by her own husband for defamation related to an extramarital affair. The kind of scandal that ended careers and destroyed reputations. Sarah called me 43 times on Monday. I answered none of them. Tuesday morning brought the first settlement offer. Sarah's lawyer, a nervous-looking man who was clearly in over his head, requested a meeting to discuss resolution options. Janet and I met them at her office. Sarah looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red-rimmed and desperate, her professional polish completely gone. My client is prepared to make significant concessions in the divorce proceedings, her lawyer began. Such as? Janet's tone was purely predatory. The list was everything I could have hoped for. Sarah would waive any claim to spousal support. She'd accept a minimal settlement on marital assets. Most importantly, she'd agree to a custody arrangement that gave me primary physical custody of Emma, with her getting standard visitation. In exchange, her lawyer continued, Mr. Harrison would drop the defamation lawsuit. Janet looked at me. We'd discussed this moment extensively. The defamation suit had already served its purpose, destroying Sarah's reputation and leverage. But dropping it now would look like weakness. Counter offer, I said. Sarah admits to the affair in writing. She admits to misusing marital funds. She agrees to reimburse every penny spent on the affair from her personal assets. And she issues a written apology for the defamation. Sarah's face crumpled. You want me to humiliate myself completely? You humiliated yourself, I replied. I'm just making it official. The confession letter Sarah ultimately signed read like a roadmap of betrayal. She admitted to the 8-month affair with David Chen. She acknowledged misappropriating over $15,000 in marital funds for affair-related expenses. She confessed to sharing confidential information about our marriage and my business with her affair partner. Most importantly, she admitted to planning to manipulate custody arrangements for financial gain rather than Emma's best interests. Reading that letter felt like holding Sarah's signed surrender. The divorce finalized 3 months later. Sarah kept her job barely after a formal reprimand and transferred to a different department. David wasn't as lucky. He was terminated and struggled to find new employment with the ethics violation on his record. I got the house. I got primary custody of Emma. I got my reputation and dignity intact. Sarah got a studio apartment downtown and weekend visitation with our daughter. Even now, 6 months later, I sometimes wake up surprised by how quiet the house is. No lies disguised as morning conversation. No wondering if the woman sharing my bed was the same one sharing her secrets with someone else. Emma adjusted better than I'd expected. Kids are resilient in ways adults never are. She missed having both parents in the same house, but she thrived with the stability of knowing exactly where she stood. Sarah and I rarely speak directly anymore. Communication goes through lawyers or carefully worded text messages about Emma's schedule. It's cleaner this way. Less opportunity for manipulation or games. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, if complete destruction was necessary when surgical precision might have sufficed. But then I remember the text messages where Sarah laughed about taking me for everything I was worth. Her jokes about using our daughter as a pawn. And I remember that mercy is a luxury you can only afford with people who wouldn't destroy you given the chance. The defamation lawsuit taught Sarah that actions have consequences, that lies eventually surface, that planning someone's destruction while smiling at them across the breakfast table is a game with very high stakes. She lost that game completely. I didn't plan to become someone who could methodically dismantle another person's life. But Sarah's betrayal taught me skills I never knew I possessed: patience, strategy, the ability to think 10 steps ahead while maintaining a calm exterior. Now, I use those skills to protect what matters most: my daughter, my business, my peace of mind. Sarah served me divorce papers thinking she was holding all the cards. She never saw the defamation lawsuit coming. Never realized that while she was planning my destruction, I was building the case that would cost her everything. Sometimes the person you underestimate the most is the one sleeping right beside you. And sometimes justice comes in the form of legal papers served at precisely the right moment to cause maximum impact. Sarah learned both of those lessons the hard way. And I learned that while I couldn't save my marriage, I could sure as hell save myself. The house feels different now. Peaceful in a way it never was during those final months of lies and deception. Emma's laughter echoes through rooms that no longer hide secrets. My morning coffee tastes better when it's not seasoned with suspicion. Sarah thought she was serving me an ending. Instead, she gave me a beginning. Justice served cold, with legal papers and professional consequences, tastes surprisingly sweet. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply letting someone's own actions speak louder than any words ever could. The defamation lawsuit I filed cost Sarah everything she thought she wanted: her reputation, her leverage, her carefully planned future built on my destruction. She never saw it coming until it was too late to stop it. And that, after everything she put me through, felt exactly like justice should.